securing 452 votes, while his main opponent, Justice B Sudershan Reddy, garnered just 300 votes. From the way the votes have been polled, it is clear that there have been at least 15 votes more that the NDA candidate has managed to secure, which means about 15 cross votes have happened. Who in the India Alliance has voted against the India Alliance candidate and in favour of the NDA candidate? When the initial count was being talked about earlier today in the morning, the India Alliance count was around 315 and the NDA count was around 427. But now it's turned out that the NDA candidate has got at least 15 votes more from the India Alliance. The India Alliance candidate, of course, has put out a letter thanking all the opposition parties for backing his candidature. Within the next hour, we are expecting the new Vice President of India, Mr. CP Radhakrishnan, who is going to be at the residence of Union Minister Prahlad Joshi. The Prime Minister is expected to arrive there as well. And there's already celebrations that have started at the residence of the Union Minister in anticipation for the big crowning of the Vice President, the next Vice President of India. The question also for the India Alliance is who cross-voted, because it wasn't just about electing the next occupant of the Rajya Sabha chair. This was a high-stakes clash. This was pitted as a battle of ideologies. Akhilesh Yadav said this is about Antaratma ki Awaaz. Alliances were tested, loyalties were under scrutiny. Will the cross-voting, and there have been at least 15 cross-votes, will it hurt the India Alliance, not just in terms of optics or numbers, but in terms of the index of opposition unity? I want to first play out what the Rajya Sabha Secretary General said while he announced the numbers and how the NDA candidate, Mr. CP Radhakrishnan, won by 452 votes as against 300 of the India Bloc candidate, Justice Reddy.
Shri Buchi Reddy Sudarshan Reddy has secured 300 first preference votes and Shri CP Radhakrishnan has secured 452 first preference votes. As the first preference vote secured by Shri CP Radhakrishnan was greater than the requisite quota, in pursuance of provisions contained in Section 11 of the Presidential and Vice Presidential Elections Act 1952, 31 of 1952, read with Rule 35 of the Presidential and Vice Presidential Election Rules 1974, I, PC Mody, the returning officer for the Vice Presidential Election 2025, hereby declare that Shri CP Radhakrishnan, Jal Bhushan Raj Bhavan, Walkeshwar Road, Malabar Hill, Mumbai, has been duly elected to the office of Vice President of India.
All right, I want to go across to our reporters. First, Aman Sharma, our political editor, joining us. Pallavi Ghosh, Arun Thanta is joining us from Prahlad Joshi's residence, where the celebrations are already underway. Aman, so at least 15 cross votes from the India Alliance, which went in favour of the NDA candidate. Obviously, there'll be a lot of post-mortem and analysis as to who these 15 were. It does, put paid to this whole business of India Alliance, unity, all opposition sort of converging on the candidature of Justice Reddy, because clearly there were some within the alliance who decided to break away and vote in favour of the NDA candidate.
Well, clearly, Zaka, I think there are two big game changers in the vice president election. Look at the figures first. NDA was at 427. They were assured another 11 by the YSRCP, which voted alongside the NDA. So their number went from 427 to 438. This is the coup because YSRCP, Sudarshan Reddy was born in undivided Andhra Pradesh, is a Telugu, but still the YSRCP committed to the NDA that they will vote for the NDA candidate. So I think this change of heart from the YSRCP, not changing their choice even after Sudarshan Reddy was announced as the candidate by the opposition parties, was I think the first game changer. The second game changer, the journey from 438 to 452, the 14 additional votes which have come to the NDA camp. This is clear cross-voting, as our colleague Payal Mehta has also put out these figures. This cross-voting, has it come from the Congress? Has it come from a constituent of the India Bloc? We don't know yet. I think there'll be a lot of, allegations exchanged now inside the India Bloc that where did this 14 votes go away to the NDA camp? And I think Jairam Ramesh tweet, where he put out a couple of hours ago that all 315 votes of the India Bloc were cast. That shows that 15 votes are less because the opposition candidate has only got 300 votes. This will leave a lot of, I think, introspection to do on the India Alliance Bloc point, also about, their candidate, because their candidate has not been able to win the confidence even of the Telugu parties. BRS has abstained, YSRCP has jumped ship towards the NDA, and on the other side, you have a Tamil candidate who's won, and the BJP might well say that the DMK didn't vote against the Tamil candidate. How will this play out in the Tamil Nadu elections the next few months? I think NDA has a lot of big takeaways from this, and as I said, the two big game changers.
Okay, I also want to go across to Pallavi Ghosh. I mean, it's a secret ballot. There are no whips. Are there ways in which the opposition alliance can find out who are the cross votes? I've heard some reports that Congress is suspicious of some DMK MPs cross voting. There are some other reports suggesting that Aam Aadmi Party, which had declared its support to the India Bloc candidate Justice Reddy, some of them could have cross voted. How do you know whether it is Congress MPs who cross voted, whether it is non-Congress MPs, part of the India Alliance, who cross voted? How do they get a sense of this?
Well, like in any other election, the polling agents can always go up and ask for some kind of a breakup, and they also do some their own of their internal calculations. I mean, earlier in the day, even as the counting was about to begin, we had that very important post coming in from Jairam Ramesh, and I call it important because that really has ended up becoming a giveaway and a benchmark for this narrative that there was indeed a cross-voting, because he says, I congratulate the fact that all 315 MPs voted. They came and they voted. So there was no absentees as far as them are concerned. There are 15 invalid votes, but there are also 15 gap between the numbers who turned up to vote and the final vote, first preference votes as far as Sudarshan Reddy is concerned. So who are those 15 people? And even those invalid votes, was it deliberately done? Because there have been several elections when we have been privy to it, when we've covered elections both inside and outside Parliament. And I would say I remember the Women Reservation Bill, the one which was brought in by the UPA government under Sonia Gandhi. I remember at that point of time, there were deliberate mistakes which were made so that the vote becomes invalid, because they didn't want the fact to be exposed that they were not in favor of the Women Reservation Bill. So these things do happen, but these things will happen and come out in the post-mortem. Prima facie, when I did speak to the top Congress sources, they said we were feeling all along there could be a certain amount of cross-voting which takes place, maybe possibly a couple from the DMK, also coming in from the Aam Aadmi Party, and they're also going to cross-check whether the AIMIM indeed ended up voting for Sudarshan Reddy or not.
Okay, I also want to go across to Arun Danta. He's at Prahlad Joshi's residence where the celebrations are already underway. What is expected in the next hour or so? I believe the Prime Minister will also be joining the celebrations there. Has the next Vice President already arrived? When is he expected to arrive? And what can we expect over the next hour and a half or so?
Well, Zaka, the celebrations have already started here, and laddu distribution is also taking place. We're given to understand that all the BJP MPs will be coming here at Prahlad Joshi's residence in a short while from now, and CP Radhakrishnan, of course, will be meeting them and thanking them for their support. And Prime Minister Mody, we're given to understand, is reaching here somewhere around 9:15 and 9:30. Let me quickly give you a glimpse that how they are prepared here. There are three this kind of stages have been made outside the residence of CP Joshi, on which you will be seeing, of course, traditional dance being performed. And as and when you will see activity, the MPs and the ministers start coming here, you will see all of them getting into the groove and just start celebrating here, as Prime Minister Mody and BJP, of course, is expecting that all their 427, including NDA MPs, have voted, and they all are valid, because Prime Minister Modi's message, Zaka, was very clear yesterday in that 2 days workshop of BJP, that we'll have to ensure, though we know that CP Radhakrishnan is going to win, but still we'll have to ensure that every vote is valid, and therefore they have to ensure this, because if even a single vote is invalid, then you have a different talks started happening around that. So we'll have to ensure that every vote is valid, and that's what government is saying at this point, that their 427 MPs voted, and all of them are valid. So therefore, if you go by that calculation, then probably there'll be 14 who cross-voted. Who were they, from which party? That's something which we'll get to know. But of course, here outside the residence of Prahlad Joshi, everything is decked up. Now we will be seeing in a short while from now MPs and senior ministers reaching here, and then of course Prime Minister Mody.
Okay, we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much, Arun Danta, Pallavi Ghosh, Aman Sharma, for joining us. I want to open this up to our guests who are joining us tonight. Look, the numbers were never really in contention, in as much as this was going to be a clean and straight win for the NDA candidate. Even if only NDA MPs voted, at the very least he would have got 427. Now he's ended up with 452, which means some degree of support has come from other parties, including parties in the India Alliance, or at least individual MPs within the India Alliance. So who did the cross-voting? And this whole campaign that we've seen over the last many weeks and months about vote chori and all of that, what happens to that? Because these were not conducted on EVMs. There's no election commission here. These were ballot paper elections, old-fashioned ones, and yet 15 people who belong to the India Alliance have cross-voted. So let's find out. Aditya Khera is a spokesperson of the BJP. Matthew Anthony, spokesperson of the Congress Party. Smita Prakash, editor of ANI, is joining us. Smita, like I said, it's not just about optics or numbers. The numbers were clearly in favor of the NDA candidate. But the fact that the India Alliance candidate got 15 votes less than what their own leaders were claiming, that is something that will be a matter of introspection. But can they really find out? And how will they find out? Who are these cross-voters?
Well, I think it's supposed to be a secret ballot, of course, but these political parties have means to figure out as to what happened actually. I think the BJP, as usual, they managed the outcome skillfully. They deployed political negotiations as a tool. Several regional parties that are not formally part of the NDA, which your reporters pointed out, BJD, YSRCP, Akali Dal, they chose to abstain. But so when you choose to abstain, what happens is that it lowers the threshold of the required votes that the BJP needed, their candidate needed. But the interesting part which you point out is the invalid votes, which is so strange. What happened? The ink dried up or something? There were these courses which were conducted, or did the consciousness come into play, this antaratma come into play? What was the cross-voting for? Interestingly, the BJP framed the election less as a contest of ideology and more as in, parliamentary efficiency, persuading the fence-sitters, avoiding open confrontation. And the opposition, despite what Mr. Jairam Ramesh says, they just failed to mount a sustained campaign. Pallavi has been talking about that in all your bulletins. There was disunity, maybe not regarding the choice of candidates, but just, lethargic interest in the candidate. It was left to him to call up the Dravidian parties and tell them that, vote for me, I'm from the south, galvanize support. It was a limited outreach to regional parties. Besides that, it was just lethargic. The entire campaign the leader of the opposition was missing from action in the past few days in the run-up. So, it was all left for the BJP to dictate the terms, and it exposed once again that, the opposition is unable to translate the outrage it has into some kind of an effective strategy to win.
I want to ask Matthew Anthony, the candidate, this whole thing about, Telugu pride, therefore we'll get TDP to vote for him. All three Telugu parties, BRS abstained, YSRCP voted in favor of the NDA candidate, TDP also voted in favor of the NDA candidate. It's probably the first time that, two parties that are so bitterly at loggerheads with each other voted for the same candidate. You are not even able to convince those parties, Matthew Anthony. How are you going to convince the whole country about this whole campaign you've been undertaking for the last many months now about vote chori? What happened? There's no vote chori. If any vote chori has happened, it's 15 of your MPs have cross-voted in favor of the NDA candidate.
Saka, how can you be so predetermined when you have 15 votes which are invalid? So we don't know the facts right now. We got 315, we got 300 out of that, and 315 is there. There is 15 votes which are invalid. We actually don't know, we need to find out. So you can't be so predetermined. Or
No, one second. No, the numbers are, Jairam Ramesh claimed 315 of the opposition MPs have shown up and they've all voted. Now, your candidate did not get 315. Your candidate got only 300. The 15 invalid votes are outside of those. which means those 15 invalid can come from NDA also, can come from neutral parties also, can come from India Alliance also. That's outside of the 15 less that your candidate has got. Your candidate has got 15 less, which means where did those 15 go?
No, do you have that information where the 15 invalids are from all other ones?
No.
Or,
No. One second. Again, don't confuse our viewers. There were 15 others that are invalid, which is not the same 15 that your candidate did not get. Your candidate got, no, we do know. Your candidate got 15 less than what your own leaders claimed.
See, that's what I'm saying, to the records. I don't know who they have voted for.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Some of your folks have voted for the other guy.
They have voted for somebody else, and I'm saying there are 15 invalid ones. So we don't have a clear information about it. So how can you say that the whole 15 is not ours? Or the whole 15 is ours as well? How can you make a claim that?
Because that would mean if all 15 invalid are yours, then the other 15 should have come to your kitty. The other 15 did not come to your kitty. So where is that other 15?
I don't know at this point of time.
See, that's what I'm saying.
Analyze the numbers. We're going to analyze the numbers. I don't know at this point of time because the results came out just now, 10 minutes back or 15 minutes back.
Anyway, no, my point is simply this. You pitched this whole thing as an ideological fight. The word that Akhilesh Yadav used this morning when Pallavi spoke to him is, "Ye antaratma ki ladai hai." What is the antaratma, yaar? I mean, 15 guys have gone and voted for the other chap. What antaratma are you talking about?
So, a vice president election, we have very clearly maintained from the very beginning that's an ideological battle. And why is this ideological battle? It's against the constitutional breach which the BJP government has been doing this for the last 12 years. And the hijacking of the institutions, starting from the judiciary to the constitutional body of the election commission. That's a vote chori which we are making.
So there was no election commission in this election?
No, not in this election.
We are not conducting this election. The Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha Secretariat was conducting this election.
Saka, let me.
So they are also compromised. Lok Sabha Secretariat is compromised. Rajya Sabha Secretariat is compromised.
If at all you want to interfere, then I'll stop.
No, I'm asking you.
Let me just complete it.
There's no election commission in this election, right? So then who is the institution that is compromised?
No, I am saying about the opposition campaign and why is this an ideological battle. We continue with our vote chori campaign about the election commission being compromised for the elections in the states as well as the Lok Sabha. We put up evidences there, and there is absolute silence. There is no debate on that from the other side.
No EVMs. Good old-fashioned ballot. Okay, Prime Minister Mody has just tweeted. One second. Prime Minister Mody has tweeted. 1 second, please. Congratulations to CP Radhakrishnan for winning the 2025 vice presidential election. His life has always been devoted to serving society and empowering the poor and marginalized. I'm confident that he will be an outstanding VP who will strengthen our constitutional values and enhance parliamentary discourse. Radhika Kera, I come back to that point about, no EVMs, no election commission. And yet vote chori happens, and Matthew Antony and Jairam Ramesh have all been saying that Akhilesh Yadav, this is ideological. So those 15 guys who cross-voted clearly don't believe in any ideology. That's why they cross-voted.
Jai Hind. First of all, let me extend my congratulations to Shri CP Radhakrishnan ji on this emphatic victory as the Vice President of India. Winning with 452 votes against 300 is not just a margin, it's a mandate, and one that speaks volumes about the strength and unity of the NDA. Now, like you were talking over here, that they could not convince the others. Well, Zaka, they couldn't convince their own. 15 have either cross-voted or something has gone wrong. They couldn't even keep their own tabbar together. Now, if you see, they've made this entire drama for the past 11 years. They said EVM chori ho gaya. They said vote chori ho gaya, vote chor, gaddi chor. Now they will start crying that MP chori ho gaya. Fact is that their own people, unki antaratma jaag gayi, and there were certain MPs also from the India Alliance, who I think even Pallavi spoke to, and lots of people spoke to, and they said that हम मन की बात सुनते हैं. सबने अपनी मन की, maybe there were those 15 only जिन्होंने मन की बात सुनी. But having said that, if you see the entire day today, the India Alliance MPs, one thing that I noticed, Zaka, today, that the India Alliance MPs were going on, whether it was the AAP MP, whether it was from the MPs from Shiv Sena, they were all talking about Nepal and all warning that this could be happening in India. Well, Nepal actually happened in the India Alliance today. They could not keep their own people together, and we've seen that whether it is the India Alliance people, whether it is those who are not a member of the NDA.
So I have the
believed
breakup. I have the
Prime
breakup,
Minister-
and I want our guests to pay attention to this and our viewers to pay attention to this. Out of the 15 invalid votes, the breakup is as follows: 10 of those 15 invalid votes were NDA, and 5 of those invalid votes were that of the opposition, which means that the opposition had 5 invalid, the NDA had 10 invalid. Had Mr. Radhakrishnan got these 10 more, his tally would have been 462 instead of 452. And Mr. Justice Reddy's
more than
tally
what
would have
we
been
were
305
counting.
instead of 300. So, which means this whole idea that the 15 who cross-voted are not necessarily the cross votes, there could be invalid votes, that has been negated, Matthew Anthony. Out of the 15, 10 invalids were NDA, 5 invalids were opposition. And by the way, our reporters are also saying that the assessment seems to be, both from the government side and from the Congress side, that there could be 1 or 2 MPs from DMK, Shiv Sena UBT and Aam Aadmi Party who cross-voted. That's how it adds up to 15. And the invalids, as you said, are not all yours. In fact, it's almost a 2:1 ratio. 10 invalid from NDA and 5 invalid from the opposition. So there you go, Mr. Matthew Anthony.
Can I come in, Saka?
Yes, please.
So, first of all, I didn't say that the entire 15 is ours. I said no, we don't know. Even the numbers which you're saying right now is quoted from sources. We don't have an official. These are all kind of sources which are saying. I don't know whether you have an official information from the Rajya Sabha election office of this. So we are speculating these numbers. We are speculating the sources. I don't want to qualify these comments on that.
No,
One
second. No, there will be no official this thing on it because this is a secret ballot. No, you
Exactly.
can't say
So
MP X or MP Y
so
or
I
MP Z.
said neither you nor me
it's
cannot claim.
calculations made by political parties, including your own, Mr. Anthony.
Yes, I agree.
Congress sources have told Pallavi Ghosh that they suspect 1 or 2 MPs from Sena UBT, DMK and AAP possibly cross-voted.
Sources may have given it out, but let it come officially. As a spokesperson, I am sitting here and I'm not saying that, no, I don't have any official information on that one.
Okay.
And I have to qualify the official statements on that.
We have the President's tweet as well. Congratulations to Shri CP Radhakrishnan being elected as the Vice President of India. Your decades of rich experience in public life will contribute significantly to the nation's progress. I extend my best wishes to you for a successful and impactful tenure. No, Radhika Khera, again, Congress.
I have a question.
Yeah, yes, please.
I have a question. I have a tweet here of Ms. Supriya Shinate, who's the social media head of the Congress. It's right here. And she's tweeted the photo of Prime Minister voting in the presidential elections and saying, ye chune ballot paper se. So, inka chunav ballot paper se kyo nahi? So, I would like to ask the Congress spokesperson, you just lost an election to the ballot also. You've lost elections to the EVM. You've lost elections to the ballot. Now, what are you going to cry? How do you want the next elections to be? If EVM, you're losing. Ballot, you're losing. You're not even able to keep your MPs together. जो भी हुआ है 15 वोट तो आपकी कम हुई हैं. The fact is that you people, your own people are not believing in you. Your alliance is not together, and you are going and fighting and blaming the Bharatiya Janata Party and the NDA, and you are degrading the post of the Prime Minister by again and again saying vote
fundamentally, I said this in the morning, and I say this again, Smita Prakash. I think the opposition is missing a trick by picking up an issue which no one's saying it's not a serious issue. Of course, it's a serious issue. We all need clean electoral rolls. They are the foundation of any integral election process. But that's not the point. The point is it a livelihood issue? Is it an issue that has resonance with people's livelihoods? Jobs are, inflation is, unemployment is. All of these are issues that affect people's lives. I'm not sure that SIR and people being deleted from voter rolls is exactly something that every person feels so passionately about that you think it's a vote determinant issue. Is it a vote determinant issue? I don't know. I really don't think it's an issue that moves the needle. But the Congress has been going on and on and on about it. That even Rahul Gandhi led that 15-day, 16-day Padyatra. The entire thing was on SIR. But is it really moving the needle in Bihar? I don't know. Smita Prakash.
We won't know, right? They picked up Rafale, if you remember, about the Rafale aircraft. Did it matter to people because you buy an aircraft if there's corruption? So, you really don't know what actually moves people. But this election, of course, we're a country which is obsessed with elections. So whether it's a constitutional club election or this election, it'll be, vice presidential election, it'll be discussed threadbare as to what went wrong. I'm sure these invalid votes in the NDA will have Mr. Amit Shah's team working very hard overnight as to that, despite having these classes which they had to explain, workshops to explain how to vote, in spite of that there have been these invalid votes. So why? So there'll be a lot of soul searching on that too. But winning this election, Zaka, was important for the BJP because it consolidates the party's domination in both houses of parliament, and they need that. The vice president's post is not just ceremonial. The proceedings of the house, the conduct of the debates, managing disruptions, steering the bills, that's all important. So securing this office was doubly important, especially after what we saw, what happened with Jagdeep Dhankar when he started acting with independent agency.
One second.
So the BJP wanted procedural.
This tweet that you're seeing on the right, I hope you can all see our screens. This tweet is from the official Congress party handle. Tweeted just 1 hour ago, by the way. Just 1 hour ago, just moments before the results came, and it says Man Ki Baat. It has a picture of the Prime Minister behind a bunch of curtains trying to come out, and it says fill in the blanks, main vote dash hoon. Obviously, they are hinting at vote chor hoon. Now, please tell me, kisne vote chori ki, Matthew Anthony? Who stole 15 votes? I mean, who cross-voted 15 votes?
So, Saka, first of all, I'm kind of a bit shocked about a leading journalist talking about that, the vote chori is not a matter of a concern for the countrymen. But it's not something which affects. What we are saying is the fundamental aspect of the vote.
Did I say that? I'm sorry. Please don't misrepresent. Please don't misrepresent.
Not
I didn't
you.
say it is not.
Not
Zaka,
you.
please. I didn't say that.
No, he's talking about me. I think is it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes,
okay.
I'm talking about you, sir.
No, I continue to maintain that. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. So I'm saying that, when we are sitting in good AC offices and, very comfortable life, and then our right is being kind of taken away, and it is being manipulated, and that is used for a dictatorship, an undeclared emergency, that is a cause of concern. Then that is for a political party, for an ideological battle to fight for the constitution of this country. And that is really shocking to see from a very senior journalist like you to say that it is not concerning.
One second. My point was, okay, 65 lakh names have been deleted from Bihar, right? That's the official tally from the Election Commission. Those 65, one second. Those 65 lakh people have a chance. They had a month-long time to again appeal to the Election Commission, move courts, whatever it is, to try and get their names back on the list. Now, my point is, there's a remaining 7 crore odd who are your majority electors in Bihar, whose life it does not affect because they are there in the electoral rolls. For them, this is not an issue. Nobody is taking away their votes. So you have basically made the number one issue in this election an issue that concerns less than 10% of the electorate of Bihar who are not on the voter rolls, and the remaining 90% who are on the voter rolls don't care about this issue because it does not affect their lives. Their names are there in the list. That's what I meant. You've picked up an issue that does not matter to 90% of the electorate of that state.
I'm coming to you. So, you're speaking specifically about Bihar. We are speaking about a country-wide hijacking of the electoral rolls. We spoke about a specific constituency in Karnataka. Then we spoke about Maharashtra earlier. We are coming to speak about Haryana later. So we are saying that the election commission, the electorate role of the election commission is being hijacked.
That's exactly, and that's a concern.
Can I please respond to it?
Anyway, Radhika Kera, go ahead.
We have also addressed the GST
the
issue.
conflation of, let's take the Mahadevpura example, right? Rahul Gandhi's contention was 1 lakh extra voters have been added. Fake voters, absentee voters, all kinds of voters. That is one thing to allege, but to say that extra 1 lakh all voted for the BJP is completely, completely jumping the gun. But anyway, Radhika Kera, final word.
Let me respond to two things very quickly. Quickly. First, the Congress spokesperson is talking about an undeclared emergency. Well, sir, after the tweet that the Congress just did with the Prime Minister's photo, after the tweet of Supriya Shene, if this was the emergency of Indira Gandhiji's time, both would be in jail, and so would be the man who called for Boti Boti of the Prime Minister, who's an MP who walks with Priyanka Vadra ji, and also all those MPs who sat outside the Indigo plane and said ki Modi teri kabar khudengi. Having said that, second thing, you're talking about vote chori in Haryana. Boss, you haven't even elected your leader of opposition in the last 11 months. 11 months ho chuke hain chunav hue hue. You don't have a leader of opposition and you're talking about vote chori. Your minister, Mr. Rajanna, was removed from power because he exposed Rahul Gandhi's claim that all this was during the Congress government. And it is the Congress to blame for this. So this is the real emergency which continues, the same emergency mindset within the Congress.
I got to leave it at that. I want to go to the other story, which is a huge story happening right in our neighborhood, and it has huge ramifications for us here in India as well. There were fairly unprecedented scenes in Nepal over the last couple of days, but today was something astounding. A Gen Z revolution, as they're calling it. These were protests that were led by young people over a host of issues. There was corruption, there was unemployment, there were these political Nepo kids, as they are known. The trigger, of course, was the social media ban, which then was later revoked. Earlier this morning, the Nepal government revoked that social media ban, but eventually these unprecedented protests have taken down not just the current Prime Minister, KP Sharma Oli, who was forced to resign. It has also targeted all the prevailing figures of the political establishment of the day, whether it's former Prime Ministers like Mr. Dioba, Mr. Prachanda, etc. In fact, the Finance Minister in Mr. Oli's government was chased down in the road outside his house. He was chased down and attacked. A former Prime Minister's wife was burned to death inside her own house. There was palpable anger on the streets of Kathmandu and other cities at the social media ban, which was a very inept and a ham-handed move to do by the KP Oli government. And then they withdrew that given the kind of unprecedented sort of protest that we saw. But I think the real tipping point, and no one expected this, was the killing of the 19 children, the 19 students, many of them, and we spoke to eyewitnesses who said that many of those kids were minors, they were wearing school uniforms, and they had their ID cards out. And yet, the police, the law enforcement shot them dead, and 19 of them died. That had become a complete turning point in these protests, because up until then, it was about social media, it was about corruption, it was about a whole bunch of things, whole bunch of grievances. But when those kids were killed, it became that this government has to go. The political establishment has to go. And today, the anger that started from the killing of those students, it felled a 4-term Prime Minister in Mr. Oli. The army chief will be addressing the nation. He's asking for peace and calm. There could likely be some kind of an interim caretaker government, and eventually there will be elections. But we have seen this script play out. We saw this in Colombo 2 years ago. We saw this in Dhaka last year. And now we're seeing this in Kathmandu. The question is, what happens next? But I want to play out some of the pictures, some of the most dramatic pictures that happened today. And I want to go across to our video wall. First, there was arson at Mr. Khanal. He's a former Prime Minister, his residence. His wife, who was inside, unfortunate to be stuck inside the house, was burnt alive to death. This is the residence of former Prime Minister Jalanath Khanal. His wife was inside. She sustained severe injuries, and then by the time they took her to hospital, she was pronounced dead. Ex-Prime Minister Sher Bahadur Deuba, the leader of the Nepali Congress, look at him, he's bleeding from his forehead. His wife, who is a foreign minister, was also attacked, Arzu Rana Deuba. Both of them assaulted by the protesters. Footage showing Mr. Deuba there coming out with blood stains and bleeding from his face, bleeding from his forehead. This was in the aftermath of the attack at his residence. Then you have the current finance minister in the outgoing government of Mr. Oli, Bishnu Prasad Paudel, who was seen running on the streets. That's the man. You can see him in a shirt and in his white vest, being kicked, being dragged, being hit on the head, being, put down onto the ground. As he was trying to run for cover, he's beaten black and blue. These Gen Z protesters broke into the parliament, into the Supreme Court, into the central secretariat of the Nepal government. They set fire to every one of these buildings. Any building that represented sort of the seat of power or the official establishment in Nepal was vandalized and set on fire. Basically, this was rage against the existing political dispensation, which completely went into the territory of lawlessness. Let's listen into what the protesters were saying. They're largely young people. They are in their 20s, in their early 30s. What did they want, and why did things come to such a pass that they were willing to set buildings on fire? They were willing to physically assault some of the leading politicians in the country.
ये देश हमारा है, ये जिंजी लोग का देश है, ये नेता लोग सब भाग गया, ये नेता लोग काम चोर है, भ्रष्टाचारी है, और ये देश के लिए ये जिंजी ने 2 दिन में सब कुछ कर दिया। ये इस नेता सब ने हमारा 19 वर्ष खा दिया, और अब हम लोग का प्रधानमंत्री होना चाहिए, और अब हम ये पार्टी का नेता नहीं मानते हैं।
आज हमारे नेपाल में संसद भवन ने पूरे जनता ने मिलके, जेनजी ने मिलके आज आग लगा दिया है। कल नेपाल पुलिस ने जितना ज्यादा किया है ना, कल कमती में 19 लोगों को, स्टूडेंट को नेपाल पुलिस ने गोली मारा, चुन के गोली मारा उसने। ये जो हुआ है ना, ये इतना कुछ ये सोशल बैंडिंग के लेके नहीं हुआ है। हम लोगों को चाहिए यूथ लीडर चाहिए।
अब ये जो पुराना लोग है ना, वो कोई नहीं चला सकता है। अब युवक चाहिए, युवक चाहिए। अब युवक ये चलाएगा, ये पुराना जितना है वो सब बाइकाट।
जैसे ही नेपाल के प्रधानमंत्री ने इस्तीफा दिया, उसके बाद आप देख सकते हैं हालात और ज़्यादा बदतर हो गए हैं। और इस वक्त हम एक हाई राइज बिल्डिंग पर खड़े हुए हैं, और यहाँ से मेरे कैमरा पर्सन युगल आपको सीधी तस्वीर दिखाएंगे। देखिए, बिल्कुल मेरे सामने ये पार्लियामेंट है, जो धू करके पूरी तरह से जल रहा है, और ये बाजू में एक होटल है और एक बैंक है, ये पूरी तरह से जल गया। ये बिल्कुल एक्सक्लूसिव तस्वीरें हम आपको दिखा रहे हैं, जहाँ जोखिम में डाल के, क्योंकि नीचे उग्र प्रदर्शनकारी हैं, लोगों का गुस्सा शांत नहीं हो रहा है। लोग भ्रष्टाचार और जो करप्शन था उससे यहाँ पर त्रस्त हो चुके थे, और उनका लगातार कहना था कि जो यहाँ की सरकार है उसने युवाओं के बारे में कोई सुध नहीं ली, और जो करप्शन का मुद्दा था वो इतना ज्यादा
All right, massive protests. We haven't seen these kind of protests even in 2005-06 when there were protests against the monarchy, even in the 1990s when there was protests out in the streets of Nepal. This is something that in 2 days, in less than 48 hours, a 4-term Prime Minister was ousted. Akhilesh Upadhyay is a columnist and a former editor with the Kathmandu Post. He's joining us live. Prabesh Subedi is a freelance journalist, also joining us live from Kathmandu. Sushant Sareen, senior fellow with the Observer Research Foundation, and Smita Prakash, editor of ANI. Let me start with you, Mr. Upadhyay. You know, initially, yesterday at least, the impression seemed to be that this was around the social media ban and, you know, young people were venting their frustration. How did it go from that to what we saw today? I mean, it was utter chaos, all, you know, government buildings, most of them being burnt down, former prime ministers and ministers being physically and violently attacked. How did it turn? How did it become this?
I mean, like, to be honest, I am here in Kathmandu trying to make as much sense, struggling to make, as you are in Delhi. First of all, I qualify that with all my humility. I don't know. I mean, like, one of the things that perhaps happens in these times of utter changes, not just in Nepal historically, is people go from one extreme to another. You know, don't forget all the social media platforms were shut off. I mean, until what, yesterday? Yeah?
Yeah.
And do you hear some of the odd sounds in the background? Yeah, that's very close to my home. I'm hoping it's not too bad. In any case, okay? So the protest yesterday was one of the young kids, as you put it, trying to tell the world that this is not done. This is extreme political nepotism, corruption, and also extreme neglect of the common man, you know? And there was hope that as they went to bed in the night, these students or kids or young protesters, Gen Z, that some calm would return in the morning. At least the party bigwigs must have thought along those lines or hoped along those lines. It didn't quite happen that way. It went to the other direction. I was at the Prime Minister KP Oli, ousted Prime Minister KP Oli, UML's headquarters today, and it was surrounded by thousands of people, you know, thousands of young protesters, and, you know, several footages of yours showed that there was vandalism all around.
Yeah.
This really continued until his resignation. But I also saw, you know, kind of there, how would I say, some calm return. The protesters, same protesters who were surrounding the Prime Minister's office, later I saw them right by my across street, turning into a victory rally, kind of like calm, chilled. So I'm hoping that that would be more the case. But that said, the situation is a little more, I don't want to use the word complicated, perhaps will take time to soak in.
Okay.
Yeah, and as we talk now, my sources say, I'm not 100%, the president, Ramchandra Paudel, Balin Saha, Kathmandu's mayor, and perhaps RSP, Rashtriya Swatantra Party president, Ravi Lamisane, have been asked by the president to visit Sital Niwas for, I don't know, some kind of early talks, very early talks on political transition.
So let me ask Mr. Subedi this. You know, what everybody wants to know is what happens next. I've been hearing since early afternoon, the mayor of Kathmandu, apparently very popular among young people, rapper turned politician Balendra Shah. And I've also heard about this gentleman, Mr. Lamchane, who I believe was in prison up until earlier today and was released from jail. Are these now the people who will take Nepal forward? Do they have support amongst the young Gen Z protesters who have been out on the streets for the last couple of days? And what do we know about these two individuals?
Actually, we don't have that clear picture yet. As Mr. Upadhyay already said, it's simply the breakout of frustration has been for a long time among the people, especially young generation. So there is no proper plans and proper ideology guiding this sort of thing. So we cannot say how the moment move ahead.
No, but what do the protesters then want? Obviously, you know, I spoke to some of these young kids in the afternoon, and one of the girls said, and I thought which was quite pertinent, is that of the 19 kids who were shot dead, a large number of them were apparently under 18, wearing their school uniform, had their ID cards out on their necks, and no one quite thought, and I think one of them said, not even in 62, 63 were school kids killed like this, and that's what really triggered the mobs today. So what is it that these protesters now want?
It's clear that there was a big dissatisfaction with the ruling government, not only with the ruling one, also with the all old political parties. But, you know, the frustration is collected somewhere in the one point, but there are many ideologies, many interest groups are involved for the same, showing the frustration. That's why who leads and what happens next is not clear yet. You see, Nepal army is trying to facilitate the process to form the new government, but actually the army in Nepal is not typically known as a political, direct political actor. So as Upadhyay said, the president is trying from his part as he can, but we still have to wait to see what happens next.
So you know, Sushant Sareen, I don't know why I have this almost feeling of deja vu. We saw a similar script play out in Bangladesh last year. Again, it was the army chief who came in. There was an interim government. The rage was basically young people. There was shooting of some of them. Some of them got killed in police firing. And then, you know, the establishment there, which was always Awami League and then BNP, completely the rage was against the establishment. We saw something similar in Sri Lanka too a few years ago. Why are we seeing the script play itself out in India's neighborhood?
Actually, you know...
Yeah, Sushant, please. Yeah, thank you. Oh dear, we've lost the audio with Sushant. We'll try and fix that in just 1 second. Smita, you want to take that?
Yeah, so I get what you're saying, but what we have seen in the past 30 years is protests and instability, and this time it does seem, you know, that it is organic in nature. But you can't deny that what one of the persons that you spoke in from Nepal, who said that there are several interest groups involved out here. So there could be international players as well as national players, and you know, Nepal standing at crossroads, teetering between reform, chaos, interest groups, frustration of the youth, which have really frustrated that 14 governments in just 17 years. So democracy is just not getting hold, and the young are frustrated. They don't remember what their older generation talk about the stability of the, you know, during the Raja's period and things like that. They don't know about that. What they can only see is corruption, factionalism, weak institutions, and politicians just recycling themselves all the time with no accountability, whereas their children seem to be having a great life, posting these pictures on Facebook, showing that they are holidaying in Switzerland. So that's why you saw Nepo kids and things like that being hashtagged. And so, when you talk about are there interest groups, there could be. There could be China playing a role. There could be Americans playing a role. There could be so many who are seeing their strategic rivalries playing out, like they played out in Sri Lanka, like they played out in Bangladesh, and they played out probably in Indonesia also. And that could be happening in Nepal. But at present, it's not clear. Right now, it just seems like angry and digital savvy young generation out there, wanting to topple a government, but no roadmap ahead as to how they're going to resolve
Sushant,
this now.
Is it too simplistic to suggest that, the same pattern is played out in Bangladesh and Sri Lanka and other countries? Or do you genuinely see that there is some kind of a vested interest at play, some kind of international interest at play? Because obviously from country to country, there could be local factors as well. This Nepo kids thing, I found quite interesting because it's the first time I'm hearing something like that in a South Asian country where youngsters have come out and said, Nepo kids are having it great, but we are not.
But that's true for all countries, Zaka. That there is a lot of disgust. We've seen that in India. In India, it manifests itself in the kind of electoral verdicts that we saw in 2014. That forget about these Nepo kids. We want a completely different leadership. And we got one, right? Because there was a lot of disgust even in India that just because you're the son or grandson or great-grandson or great-great-great-great-great-grandson of somebody, and just because you think that your nose resembles your grandmother, you deserve a position in the government. It's not on. So there is a lot of disgust even in India, and I suppose among all generations across the world with Nepo kids. But there are other organic factors. I think some of it my colleagues on the panel have listed out. Smita has spoken about corruption and the kind of musical chairs that was going on in Nepal. Completely feckless governance. There was virtually no governance. It was almost like everybody was only interested in the political machinations on how to come back into power, and Oli being emblematic of that. So there was a lot of problems out there. Now, in this mix, there could be vested interest. But I think what happened over the last 2 days is very different from what has happened in some of the other countries, in the sense that, at least in Nepal, in the previous agitations that toppled governments, you had somebody leading those agitations.
Yeah.
There was a political leadership which was leading the agitation and which was able to pave a transition. This time, it is leaderless, number one. Number two, what is going to be the transition? Because where is the political leadership left? Every single major political party, we've seen what has happened to them on the streets of Kathmandu today, right? They literally are fleeing with their lives, and some of them have lost, unfortunately, their lives. Their houses are being burned down. Now, even if supposing you were to go into fresh elections, who will fight those elections? And the guys who are trying to step in right now, do they have the political capital, a pan-Nepal appeal? Remember, Nepalese politics is also pretty fragmented, which is why you don't get clear verdicts. Will you get a clear verdict now if you go into an election? What will the leadership be like? What are the new plans they have? It is one thing to do rabble-rousing through rap music, right? But it is quite another to run an administration and to deliver the people what you are promising.
So, Mr. Upadhyay is shaking his head. I think Sushant has a point in as much as when the protests happened against the monarchy, there were already established political parties, and then of course the Maoists came out and they formed a political party, and then when this move happened towards a constitutional republic, again, there were leaders who were leading that, right? Now, there are two names I keep hearing. One is Balain Shah, the other is this Mr. Lamchane. My point is, do they have pan-Nepal, popularity and organizational structure, not just voters who will vote for them, but a political party that will go out there and campaign and convert this anger into a democratic exercise of, going out there and casting votes. I mean, both are said to be in their 30s is what I'm given to understand. And
Yes.
not from established political parties.
Okay, good questions again. I would put it this way, let's not forget that every individual, no matter how young, has a personal agency. And it has to start somewhere. So BJP's history in the 90s, how many seats did it have? Where is it now? I mean, I would ask Indian viewers to look into it and not be so dismissive so quickly to the agencies that are like shaping up in the neighborhood. That would be pretty, I would say, standard response from a big neighbor. Some of you very bright people. One. Two, I'm not condoning violence at all. I can hear the gunshots probably. If anyone is nervous among the audience here, it's Mr. Subedi and I, right?
Yeah.
But you have to hope, right? If you believe in democracy, you have to hope. And also you have to believe in constitutional process. So this idea that a party given doesn't have a pan-Nepal perception comes with such a preconceived notion that all parties start mature without any history, But it is these defining moments that make a small party big, fast, overnight, and the leaders are born in times of crisis.
No, I just want to give you the examples of, let's just take the subcontinent itself, right? In Sri Lanka, eventually the person and the political party that benefited is currently the president of that country, but he was an established political party. In Bangladesh, the problem is that even after a year after the previous establishment was thrown out, they've not been able to find a consensus. They've not been able to even hold elections because the existing political establishment, the trust with it was so low, or the young people were fed up with that establishment that they decided to throw it out lock, stock and barrel. The same thing is happening in Nepal. I mean, every prime minister of any kind of political hue or stripe, whether you're a Nepali Congress politician or a Maoist politician or a UML politician, everybody's been targeted. So what's left? I mean, I don't see anything other than a political vacuum. What comes into that vacuum? That's the question.
Okay. There is always a question that the political vacuum will remain.
Yeah.
Not going to kind of like forecast and say it's going to be all stable within few months or few days or weeks, But there is also every possibility that new generation fed up with sustained political stability, not just new generation. I'm hardly a new generation, as you can see, but there is, in these, I was talking to a lady yesterday.
Okay.
Young, 24, 25-year-old protester in scooter. Yeah? Mm-hmm. And she said this to me. I have never seen a cohorts of this size in my life. And we don't even belong to the same geography. So you know what I mean, right?
Okay.
So I don't know what's going to coalesce, but I would like to think there is distinctly a scenario, where this would happen. The second point, yes, it is organic, as Smita rightly put it. There is a possibility that there are vested interest groups in this, like such a large-scale protest. Points taken. And the idea that 1990 protests were led by parties, just as the 2006 another mass movement, and this is not, makes also this protest very unique and is a product of, how would I put it, social media platforms.
Okay. Sushant, so if we all want to hope, and we all want our version of ideal politics. But here's the thing. So I'll give the final word to Sushant because I also have to wrap up. Is that what Mr. Upadhyay is saying is, if this goes right, this could be the equivalent of the Arab Spring in Nepal. This could be Nepal's spring.
Zaka, you know how the Arab Spring worked out, right? You know that. Now, I can understand if Mr. Upadhyay is being optimistic. Yes, why not? But look, the analogy which he gives is wrong. The BJP started in the 1950s as Bharatiya Janata Sangh. And it took decades to reach a point where it finally got a subject on which it could actually start winning elections. And even then, it took them about 12 years to win elections. The only closest example we have is a party like Aam Aadmi Party, which took about 2 or 3 years. And look, you know what a hash they have made of things, especially in Punjab, and not that did a very good job in Delhi. I think I think the best chief minister Delhi had was Sheila Dikshit. So there is certainly that problem out there. And the problem is also going to be that even I am 25 years old, right? Mr. Upadhyay might be very old, but I consider myself to be Gen Z. But the fact of the matter remains that, running an administration is a very complex task. And it is one thing to have a lot of passion and a lot of jazba to do the right thing and want the right thing.
Yeah.
But wanting the right thing and being able to manage the right thing are two completely different things.
All right, I'll wrap up. I'll wrap up with, I think it was Obama who said, you campaign in poetry and you govern in prose. That's where the problem is. When you start governing and you don't have any experience of governing, that's when the infinite hope that people like these young politicians are sort of reviving in Nepal, that suddenly sours. Anyway, we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much. It's a fascinating story, and as neighbors, we should be paying attention to it. We should be observing it, and we should be watching what's going on in Nepal without preconceptions or judgments, as it were. Thank you for tuning in to Brass Tacks. Thank you for watching from our CNN News 18 Primetime Studio, presented by Schneider Electric Smart Home Solutions.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Joining us here on CNN News 18, huge story breaking in the neighborhood. The Nepalese Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli, who's been a sort of a semi-permanent fixture in Nepali politics over the last 30 years, he has now tendered in his resignation. His current government, I think this is his third stint in power, his current government, which was an uneasy coalition between him, the Nepali Congress, and a section of the Maoist party. It was an uneasy coalition that had been in power for the last year or so now, and now, given these massive scale protests that we've seen, led by young people, the trigger being, of course, the social media ban, but it goes far beyond that. Issues of corruption, unemployment, privileges, dynastic politics, curbs on young people speaking their mind, all of this sort of came into a deadly cocktail. It came into a deadly combination, which finally ended up consuming the current Prime Minister, Mr. Oli, who has tendered in his resignation. The latest information that we have is that Mr. Oli has been given safe escort by an army chopper. Him and his immediate family members have been taken to an army barrack where they will be kept for some time. CNN News 18 broke this story first to you. We were the first ones to tell you that Mr. Oli has put in his papers. He has officially sent in his resignation to the Nepalese president, Mr. Paudel, whose resignation has now been accepted. At 12:05 p.m., we told you about Mr. Oli planning to step down. It was clear earlier this morning itself. The RSP party quit, 4 ministers quit. The writing on the wall was clear as day to the Nepalese Prime Minister that he's fast losing support and he needs to step down. At 2:16 p.m., officially, KP Sharma Oli, Prime Minister of Nepal, put in his papers and stepped down as Prime Minister after being given safe passage by the military, an assurance of safe passage by the Nepal Army Chief. Let me go across to Darshan, who's a Nepali journalist, who is joining us live from Kathmandu. Darshan, so Mr. Oli, the long-serving Prime Minister of Nepal, has finally quit. Do we know where he is? He's apparently been taken in an army helicopter to some safe passage. And what happens next, Darshan? Who becomes the next Prime Minister? What is the next government going to be like? Is there any word about what is happening?
So there is a lot of protest right now. Like, though I'm in a safe place right now, I can hear a lot of screaming and the cloud which is filled with the smoke. So I'm not sure which are the buildings that has been into fire. But yeah, the PM Oli finally resigned, but it's not about a new government. It's a generational war. Like I mentioned earlier, Gen Z are like crazy, and there is also a lot of riots that's happening. And there is no one to take a lead at this time. But Gen Z are also, looking after balance to come forward to control this chaos. because right now there are protesters inside parliamentary building, inside the Singha Darbar, where all the ministries used to handle their places, and there are also many data centers that have very critical information. And right now there is no presence of the government in the street. Nepal police and APF have already said that the situation is not in our control. So, I mean, it's scary.
News 18 Primetime Studio, presented by Schneider Electric Smart Home Solutions.
We're live from the CNN News 18 Primetime Studio, presented by Schneider Electric Smart Home Solutions. Viewers, it was all over in less than 48 hours. Mobocracy. Yes, this was no spontaneous uprising by some stifled youth. This is a lynch mob that accounted for another government in the subcontinent. Over the last 48 hours, viewers, these mobsters who have banded together under the moniker Gen Z have rampaged, forcing Nepal's communist Prime Minister KP Oli to resign.